Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2019 Porsche number 17 Motorsport 935, and yeah, we're racing it in online S2 class races. So yeah, it's got a huge amount of power now and torque, and way more in the realm of top speed. And yeah, as you can see by the stats, it's all pretty great, especially in terms of handling, launch and braking. So yeah, let's see what this race car can do. That was yeah, it's a very exclusive race car. Like I said in my review, only limited to 77 units. So yeah, not many of these are going to be out on the racetracks, and yeah, even less as time goes by, because no doubt some will be crashed or severely damaged. So yeah, but for this car itself, it's now got 1,025 horsepower and 777 pounds-feet of torque from its still 3.8 litre twin turbocharged flat 6 engine. So yeah, that's a massive 334 extra horsepower and 227 pounds-feet of torque extra as well. So yeah, got a damn sight more in the way of what matters with this class of racing, and that is power and torque. But it is still rear-wheel drive, which is what's so surprising about this car, is that it's as good as it is off the line when being rear-wheel drive. Now granted, obviously the engine is in the back, so it gives it extra grip, but yeah, it is still surprising how great it is in terms of launch, especially when you compare it to the likes of the Huracan STO, which wasn't as good offline as some of its counterparts. Yeah, this has got a really good amount of downforce going on as well, as you can probably tell from the rear wing. Yeah, I'm not the most comfortable in these kind of races. High speeds, high grip and all that lot are typically not my forte. I'm far more used to cars that have pretty poor handling and not much in the way of speed. And yeah, this is definitely a car that relies a lot on its downforce to have the handling in the first place, because in slower corners there is a fair bit of understeer, and there is the opportunity for oversteer to kick in, especially given how much power it's now got. Well, to be at the top of the S2 class rank races, you have to have the most PI that you can get, and the only way of getting the PI up as high as it needed to be was to put more power into it. So, oh dear, very twitchy car up front at times. When this car is at its best, it's really great. I don't know why the Viper stopped there. I've had a controller issue. But oh well. A decent start to this championship, 3rd place. So yeah, it also weighs 252 pounds less than it did originally, at 2,790 pounds. So a lot more power, a lot more torque, and a substantial amount of less in the way of weight is yeah, obviously going to result in a really quick car in terms of straight line speed. But this just has just as much in terms of cornering ability and acceleration and braking ability as it does in terms of just pure straight line speed. But there's no getting away from the fact that even with all of the extra downforce, it's still able to do 239 miles an hour at the top end, which is 29 miles an hour more than it could do originally, which, like I said, is despite more downforce at the front and at the rear. Hello Tilly, my cat has decided to enter the room. But yeah, where it's not as noticeable is in terms of its pure acceleration. 0 to 60 is dealt with in now 2.455 seconds, which is only slightly more than its original 0 to 60 time of 2.684 seconds, so it's only just over 0.2 of a second quicker to 60. But it's much more noticeable to 100, as it can do now 0 to 100 in 4.216 seconds, as opposed to its original 0 to 100 time of 5.384 seconds. So more than a second quicker to 100. And like I said, 29 miles an hour faster at the top end. So yeah. But we're unlikely to see the top end speed from this on these online races, because they typically don't have much in the way of straight line speed. While they're saying that, to get far off, even on this shortest straight. Brabham there beating me up, using me as its brakes. Rimac, which is out of control, which is to be expected of that car, to be honest. Into third again. These slower corners is where we're weakest. High speed corners are where this car's best. It's more downforce and therefore more handling. Made a bit of oversteer there. A lot of oversteer there. When we're less than 125 mile an hour or so, this does not have the best handling going, as evidenced by our drop in places there. But still, obviously that was not helped by the Brabham at the beginning, standing to the rear end of us. But regardless, yeah, I think this car succeeds better on longer sprint races or more, you know, lapped races than it would do on this kind of short sprint. But we're still in third overall, but we are joint third in points with the Viper, so still everything to play for with this championship, which, yeah, is going to be shorter championship video than usual, because obviously we're in cars that are dealing with way higher speeds, way higher acceleration and the like, so yeah, we aren't going to be here as long as we would do in a lower class of vehicle. But still, this car is really, really good, which isn't something I often say about racing cars, because I prefer my production vehicles more than my racing vehicles. But yeah, it's still a really, really good car, and yeah, love the look of it, which definitely sets it apart from other racers that are like it. And the fact they've taken the 911 GT2, which I'm not a massive fan of, and must turn it into this car that is blistering in terms of handling and braking and looks as great as it does, all the while being a track car, is rather remarkable. And I love the fact it pays homage to the 70s 935, which, yeah, in its day was one of the best looking races going and one of the most competitive as well. So yeah, don't know why the loading times are taking forever. I suspect someone's left, or there's a bunch of people joining. But still, if you didn't get your chance to get your hands on this, then it might well pop up in the festival playlist at some point in the future. I have done that with other cars that were released by the festival playlist that people missed out on. They've given people a second opportunity to get them. So if you didn't get it in the last week's festival playlist, then you should hopefully get another chance in the future. So yeah, it's well worth keeping your eye out for when that happens, especially if you're into these kind of vehicles. Yeah, a couple more people joined by the looks of things. Right, let's see what we can do on this circuit race. Steer into that wall then. Rimac is leaving massive amounts of smoke behind. It's not the easiest of cars to handle, that vehicle, when in a racing situation. It's perfectly fine on its own, but yeah, its limitations do become apparent in these kind of races. It does have the acceleration, especially out of corners. It does weigh a lot, and that's its big Achilles heel. But then we've got a lot of oversteer out of slow corners as well, so we are hardly perfect. What is it with people in this game? Can never get a clean race because people are crashing all the time. I guarantee the Viper crashed into the Rimac as well. The Rimac was doing reasonably well to keep that thing on the road, and yet as soon as the Viper overtakes me, it crashes. Yeah, there's no such thing as sporting spirit on this game. Pretty much like every online racing game, quite frankly. Just feels like everyone is just more interested in their own time than they are in terms of having a good time overall. It just ruins it for everyone else. But yeah, the car itself is great. I just wish it was in a game that had more, you know, sporting people in it, quite frankly. But yeah, it's not the first time I've done one of these racing online videos and had people being completely moronic, so yeah, it's just something that has to come with doing these kind of videos, quite frankly. So yeah, but there we go, the Porsche 935, a fantastic car, and a car that you can no doubt upgrade in a better manner than I've done it, but I enjoy it the way I've done it, even if it's got its flaws. But then, so do most cars that you upgrade on these games. You always have their compromises, and the compromise with this is it's not particularly great coming out of slower corners. So yeah, but that's just the way it goes. Nonetheless, though, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.